Lately, I've noticed parents asking me the same question, but in different ways. Why does my teen seem checked out all the time? Not angry exactly, not sad, just somewhere else. On the phone, in their room, mentally checked out. What happened to my kid? Then parents assume it's attitude or that this is just how teenagers are nowadays. But I think something else is going on. We are raising kids inside a world that does not stop pulling at their attention. One thing I wish more parents knew is that the teen brain is still very much under construction. The part responsible for judgment, self control, and planning that's still developing well into their 20s. Meanwhile, the emotional part of the brain, the reward system, that's already very active, which means teenagers are wired to notice excitement, novelty, social approval. And that's why phones are so attractive. Every scroll gives the brain something new. A laugh, a surprise, a notification, something emotional. And the brain starts chasing the next hit before it even realizes it's doing that. These apps are built to hold attention for as long as possible, and teen brains are especially easy to hook. So when parents say, why can they just put it down? Sometimes the real answer is because the app was built by people whose entire job was making sure they wouldn't. A lot of teens tell me the same thing nowadays. I'm bored, I can't focus. They do remember being able to sit through class, read a chapter, or watch a full movie, do homework without checking their phone every 30 seconds. But the brain adapts to whatever it practices most. And right now, most teens are practicing speed, fast videos, constant switching, constant stimulation, and the brain never fully powers down anymore. So slower things start to feel uncomfortable. Homework feels painful. Reading feels exhausting. Even silence feels strange. Multitasking and nonstop stimulation can absolutely worsen attention problems in teens. The American Academy of Pediatrics has repeatedly emphasized the importance of balanced media use, sleep protection, and screen boundaries because of these concerns. And sleep, that's a big thing. Teenagers are already programmed to fall asleep later during puberty. Their internal clock, also called circadian rhythm, shifts for later sleep. So now, take a brain that naturally wants to stay awake later and put a glowing screen in front of it at midnight, and the brain stays alert. One more video, one more text, one more scroll, and suddenly it's 1 a.m. Then they wake up exhausted. And exhausted brains are emotional brains. Everything feels more difficult when you're sleep deprived, which means stress, anxiety, less focus. I've had teens sit across from me convinced something was deeply wrong with them. And one of the first things we uncover is that they're sleeping 5 hours at night with their phone in bed. I also think adults underestimate how intense social media feels to teenagers. When we were younger, you could go home and get a break from social pressure. Now it follows them into their bedroom, into bed, into school, into every quiet moment. A bad photo, being left out, watching everyone else look happier, prettier, and more successful, over and over. And teenagers care deeply about belonging. That's normal development. That sensitivity isn't a character flaw, it's adolescence. Social media just turns the volume all the way up. So, what do we do with all this? Because most families aren't going to get rid of phones completely. That's not realistic. What helps more is building guardrails around the parts hurting the brain most. First, protect sleep. If phones stay in bed, sleep usually loses. Second, look at what screens are replacing. If your teen still sleeps well, sees friends, moves their bodies, functions in school, connects with family, that's very different from a kid disappearing into a screen for 10 hours a day. Third, watch your own habits too, because teens notice everything. If we pick up our phone every quiet second, they see that. And finally, don't turn this into us versus them. Most adults struggle with screens too. This isn't about blaming teenagers. It's about recognizing what their brains are up against. I think a lot of parents feel like they're losing their teenager to a screen. And I understand that feeling. But I don't think this is hopeless. The teenage brain is still changing. And that's the good news too. Sleep helps, boundaries help, real conversations help. Time away from the phone helps. Small changes matter, not because screens are evil, but developing brains need space to breathe. If screens have become a battle in your house, comment screens below. I'm curious what families are seeing right now. And if this helped you understand your teen a little differently, send it to another parent who needs to hear it too.